Imagine spending weeks overseas, working to provide for your family, only to come home and find your neighbor, a man you trusted, living in your house, wearing your robe, sitting in your chair, kissing your wife, and my kids. They thought he was their new daddy. My name's Frank, and I've always been the kind of guy who believes in hard work, loyalty, and taking care of my family. I'm a systems engineer, not flashy, not rich, but I provide. When my company offered me a 3-month international contract with double pay and a bonus, I didn't hesitate. It meant I'd be away, yeah, but the extra money? It could finally help us finish the backyard project Whitney wanted. Maybe even take the kids to Disney next summer. Whitney was supportive, or at least she seemed to be. She smiled and said, "We'll miss you, but we'll be fine." She kissed me goodbye, packed me snacks for the airport, told me she was proud of me. I remember hugging my daughter at the terminal. She asked, "Are you going to miss my birthday, Daddy?" That hurt, but Whitney reassured her, "Daddy's doing this for you, sweetheart." I left thinking I had a partner who understood the sacrifice. I thought I was leaving my kids with their loving mother in a safe neighborhood with familiar faces, including James. James. Our neighbor, a contractor, single. Lived next door for 3 years. We used to have beers together in the driveway. He'd borrow my tools, helped once when my car wouldn't start. He was the guy you trusted to water your plants if you were out of town, and that's exactly what I asked. "Hey, James," I said, "mind keeping an eye on the place while I'm gone?" He grinned and said, "Of course, brother, you go do your thing." I didn't think twice. The first few weeks overseas were fine. I was working long hours, but I'd call Whitney every couple days. She'd answer, usually rushed. "I'm tired, babe, the kids are wild." Sometimes I'd hear another voice in the background, a man's voice. When I asked, she said, "Oh, must be the TV." Or James popped by to drop off the lawnmower, but it kept happening. Once I called during dinner. She answered from the patio. I asked if she was eating with the kids. She hesitated. They already ate. Then I heard laughter. 2 male voices. One was hers. The other didn't belong to a kid. Another time, I FaceTimed the kids, and they were in James' house. I asked why. Whitney said, "Oh, their tablet died, and James has good Wi-Fi." Really? Still, I brushed it off. Told myself not to be the jealous husband. I trusted her. I wanted to trust her. The last week of my assignment, I started counting the hours till I could be back with my family. I even stopped at a toy store in the airport and bought my kids gifts. A doll for my daughter, a toy truck for my son. The flight home was brutal. Delayed twice, turbulence non-stop, but all I could think about was hugging my kids, surprising Whitney, and sleeping in my own bed again. When the taxi pulled into the driveway, I froze. James' truck was there, parked right where I used to park. I told myself maybe he came over to mow the lawn or fix something, but the grass was freshly cut. The trash cans were lined up perfectly. The front porch was spotless. Everything looked maintained, almost like someone else had been playing husband. I walked up to the door and knocked softly, just to surprise them. No answer. Then I used my key. I stepped inside and was hit with the smell of bacon and maple syrup. The TV was on, cartoons playing. My son was sitting cross-legged on the floor. My daughter ran up to me, yelling, "Daddy!" My heart melted. For a second, until she added, "Daddy James is making breakfast." I blinked. "Who?" She pointed toward the kitchen, and there he was. James, wearing my robe, flipping pancakes. Like this was his damn house. He turned and said, "Oh, hey man, you're back early." Cool as hell. Not an ounce of shame on his face. I looked around. His sneakers were by the door. His coffee mug was on the counter. His phone is charging in my kitchen. Whitney came down the stairs like nothing was wrong, smiling, stretching, wearing a t-shirt. I knew she never slept in alone. "Oh, you're home," she said casually. Not surprised, not even pretending to look. Guilty. I asked her, "What's going on?" She brushed her hair back and laughed nervously. "James just stayed over sometimes, helping with the kids. You know how hard it's been." I didn't respond. My eyes drifted to the fridge. There, taped right in the center, was a drawing. My daughter's artwork. 4 stick figures, mommy, brother, sister, and a tall man labeled Dad. It wasn't me. It was James. I wasn't even in the picture. I was erased. That's when it clicked. This wasn't just cheating. She tried to replace me. And worst of all, my kids didn't know the difference. They didn't know they'd been living in a lie. After that gut punch of a welcome, I sat in the living room still wearing my travel clothes, while Whitney tried to act like this was all normal. James casually disappeared upstairs, like this was his house now. Whitney sat across from me, pretending to smile. "You're making a big deal out of nothing," she said. "He's just been helping. He was here for emergencies." "That's all," I asked. "Since when do emergencies sleep over for days? In my bed." She laughed it off. "You're being insecure, paranoid. You've always been jealous of James." That was her game. Gaslight, deny, blame. I asked why his clothes were in our laundry bin. She said, "He got sweaty fixing the AC. I washed them for him." I asked about his cologne in the bathroom. She said, "Oh, he left it accidentally. Relax." She never even paused to consider how insane it all sounded. Then she leaned in and had the audacity to say, "Maybe if you hadn't left, none of this would have happened. I was lonely, Frank." She turned it around, making it my fault for taking a work trip to support the family. I sat there staring at her, completely stunned. She wasn't just lying. She was rewriting reality, trying to gaslight me into thinking I had caused this. Then she doubled down. "Look, James and I got close, but it's not serious. It's not like we're in love." I asked, "Then why do my kids call him Daddy?" Her eyes twitched. She stood up and walked away. Later that night, I pretended to be asleep on the couch. That's when I heard it. Their voices in the kitchen, whispering, laughing, her soft and familiar. I recorded everything on my phone. No more guessing. No more giving the benefit of the doubt. Then the final dagger. I walked past the kitchen and heard James say, "I told you he wouldn't have the balls to do anything. He's too nice." She laughed. "He's just tired. He'll calm down." That was it. They weren't just unfaithful. They were mocking me. They thought I was too weak to fight back. They had no idea what was coming next. That night I didn't sleep. Not even for a second. I lay there on the couch, staring at the ceiling, running through every memory of the past 3 months. Every time she said, "I miss you." Every FaceTime with the kids, where James was lurking. She thought she'd gotten away with it. She thought I'd just roll over, stay quiet, and live like nothing happened. But she forgot one thing. I may be quiet, I may be calm, but I never forget. I started documenting everything. Screenshots, voice recording. One of my cameras caught James coming and going from the house at night while my kids were asleep. I even checked our shared bank account. She'd been using my money to buy groceries for him, paid for takeout 4 nights a week. Once, she booked a hotel downtown, not for herself, but for a weekend break, and charged it to our joint card. I reached out to a lawyer the next morning, explained the situation, showed him everything. He said, "Frank, you've got gold. If this goes to court, custody won't even be close." But I wasn't done yet. I wanted her to feel what I felt, so I set the trap. I told Whitney I had to fly back overseas in 2 days for unfinished business. She acted sad, with fake tears, weak hugs. "Do you have to go?" I said yes. I needed her to believe I was out of the picture again. That weekend, I parked 2 blocks away, took an Uber back to the house after dark. From outside, I saw them through the window, dancing in the living room. My daughter is on James's shoulders. Whitney is holding my son. They had turned my family into their little playhouse, but I had everything I needed. I recorded the whole thing. And that's when I hit send on the Email blast to her parents, to my parents, to the entire PTA mailing list she was part of. Video clips, photos, screenshots. A note that simply read, "While I was out working for my family," this is what she was doing. If you were me, what would you have done next? Please hit that like button because I did more than just confront them. By the next morning, the damage was done. I woke up to my phone vibrating nonstop. Dozens of texts, missed calls, a few emails that started with, "Frank, I had no idea," and "Please call me. We need to talk." My in-laws, Whitney's own parents, were the first to respond. Her mom called, crying. "Frank, how could she do this to you? You took care of her. You built a life for those kids. I'm so sorry." Her dad? He was furious. "I didn't raise her to be like this. That's your house, your kids, not his damn playground." Whitney didn't call. She showed up around noon. She came storming into the guest house I was staying in, face red and shaking. "How dare you send that to everyone? You embarrassed me," she screamed. I stood there, calmly. "You embarrassed yourself. I just shared the truth." She tried to spin it. "You didn't have to involve the kids' school. What will people think?" Exactly. Let them see. Then came the real panic. She started begging. "Frank, I messed up. I was overwhelmed. I didn't mean for it to get that far. It was just comfort. A distraction." I stayed quiet. Because, honestly, nothing she could say would erase what I saw, what I heard. The way she laughed with James behind my back. The way my son called another man Dad. She kept trying. "We can fix this. Please, let's go to therapy." That's when I laid it on her. I already filed for divorce. Her face collapsed. Tears poured. "You're going to break up our family?" I snapped. "You broke it. When you invited another man into my bed. When you replaced me in my kids' lives. Then came the knockout punch. My lawyer's filing for full custody and I've got a pretty strong case. You've got no job, no stable income. You exposed the kids to your affair partner in my house." That's when she lost it. "You can't take my children from me. But here's the thing, they're not hers to take. They're ours. And I wasn't going to let them grow up thinking what she did was okay." That same day, James vanished. Didn't even say goodbye to the kids. Whitney called him non-stop. He never picked up. Guess when things got real. Fun uncle, James, wasn't built for the consequences. By the end of the week, Whitney was staying at her sister's. Alone. No kids. No James. No house. Everything she threw away for a fling. Gone. The divorce went through faster than I expected. Turns out, when you've got video proof, eyewitnesses, and a judge who doesn't take kindly to home wreckers parading around children, you don't need much convincing. I got the house, full custody. Whitney was granted supervised visitation twice a month. She tried to fight it at first, until her lawyer told her she was lucky I wasn't suing for emotional damages. After that, she stopped showing up to court in heels and started showing up in tears. The kids? They adjusted quicker than I thought. My daughter asked me once, "Why? Doesn't Mommy live here anymore?" I told her the truth, simple and age-appropriate. Because Mommy made a big mistake, and now she has to earn our trust again. No lies, no sugarcoating, because I'll be damned if my kids grow up thinking betrayal is just a phase people go through. As for James, gone, vanished. Turns out he had a girlfriend of his own, long distance. She found out too. Dumped him. On the spot. Then word got around the neighborhood. James went from cool bachelor next door to the creep who played dad to another man's kids. He moved out a month later. Left no forwarding address. Whitney, though? She tried to save face. Posted inspirational quotes on Instagram about healing and owning your mistakes. Blocked me, of course. But Mutual sent screenshots. I wasn't interested, because I wasn't focused on her anymore. I was focused on rebuilding, not just life, but identity. I took time off, focused on the kids, started cooking with them, walking them to school, making new traditions. Every Saturday became Dad and Me breakfast, where we'd try a new pancake recipe and laugh about who made the weirdest one. Therapy helped too, not for heartbreak that faded fast, but for trust, for understanding how someone you'd share your life with could replace you so easily. But even now, months later, I'll catch Whitney driving by, sitting in her car, watching from down the block. I don't wave. I don't go out, because the woman who looked me in the eyes and lied in front of my kids doesn't get access anymore. Not to my time, not to my peace, not to me. She threw everything away for a man who couldn't even stick around for cleanup. Me, I'm still standing, stronger, wiser, unshakable. She lost everything, not because I took it, but because she gambled on a man who was never worth the bet. If there's one thing I've learned, it's this. Sometimes the people you'd go the extra mile for are the ones quietly handing your enemies the information to ruin your life. And betrayal doesn't always come with a bang. Sometimes it creeps in slowly, disguised as help, as comfort, as the friendly neighbor next door. I gave Whitney everything: stability, loyalty, a home. She gave James my seat at the table, then had the nerve to ask why I left. But I'm not bitter. I'm better. Because truth always exposes lies, and eventually, masks slip. So if you're watching this and you feel like something's off in your relationship, don't ignore it. You're not crazy. You're not overthinking. You're seeing the cracks before they break wide open. Please like this video if you think cheaters should never win. Comment, "Justice served," if you stayed till the end. And share this story with your beautiful friends.